What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mindful Space. My name is Tyler. Unfortunately, Johnny is out of town today. Again, I think we're running into a little pattern here, but we'll talk to Johnny about that on the next one. But we got Alex, you know, our very famous producer. And we're going to have a really good episode today. We have Father John here. I've known John better part of maybe 6 years, right? Something around there. You've known John,
I don't know, 20?
a lot longer.
Like
when your house was getting condemned, John was probably trying to bail you out.
I wasn't a John guy back then.
But John's a Philly guy. You know, Alex is a Philly guy. I'm a Bronx guy. But since I met John, John has always been there for me. He's always, you know, helped me with whatever I needed to navigate with my family or my friends in addiction. So this is going to be a really powerful one. And, you know, really take into consideration that this man knows what he's talking about with over 30 years of experience in the addiction treatment field, right? 30s, right? Or 40 maybe?
30 plus.
35, 36.
35.
Yeah, 36.
Wow. It's insane.
Just a few years.
So,
Just a few years, right?
just a few in. But take us to the beginning, right? Without incriminating yourself at all. Where'd you grow up? Now, obviously, what I'm asking, I need neighborhood, I need corner, because it's not just I grew up in Philadelphia for me. So you, what neighborhood are you from? South Philly, obviously.
South Philly,
Right.
Hampton, Oregon, 9th
border. So you were that side. You were that side.
I'm
of
that
Snyder.
side.
Okay.
I'm the poor side.
Okay. So take me through growing up, right? You're a kid, you're a South Philly kid. Typical South Philly kid. Did you claim a corner? Did you have a corner growing up?
Yeah.
Tenton, Oregon?
Well, growing up, it was 8th and Porter first, because 8th and Porter was the big corner back in the
then.
day.
Back in the day. What are we talking? I don't know.
70s, early 70s.
Right. How old are you?
I'm 60.
So you're 60. Okay. So you're younger than my father. You're okay. So you're in that 60. Those guys.
Yeah.
All right. So 8th and Porter is the corner back then.
Yeah.
Really? This is prior to 10th and Oregon.
Prior and
Part
like,
of.
run side to side.
But 8th and Porter's the corner.
8th and Porter was the corner.
Okay.
Even bigger than 10th and Oregon back then.
Right. So give me your South Philly childhood. Your South Philly growing up.
You know, I played sports.
Where'd you go to school?
Stella Maris.
Stella Maris.
And then Newman, of course.
Of course. I was the only guy I know that didn't go to Newman.
Are those public or private?
Catholic, brother.
Catholic, yeah.
Catholic school.
Yeah.
It's the only ones you went to.
That's
it.
Me too. Yeah.
That's it. All right. So Stella Maris, high school Newman. You're basically a regular neighborhood kid, right? Somewhere along the lines, you turned to the priesthood, right? When is this?
After high school.
Right after high school?
Pretty much. About a year after high school is when I took the plunge.
Really? So
Wow. Were you
What-
18, right? Right after high school, 17, 18?
I was 19 when I was,
Wow.
different world.
what
Completely different world.
brings that decision on? Is that something you knew you wanted to do?
Not
or
really. Not really. I was, I was drunk in the backseat of my friend's
Come
car
on, that's
senior
it.
week.
This is what we're looking for, John. Here we go.
I was crashed out in the back on the floor. Their feet were on me. My friend said, "You're such a mess." He says, "What are you going to do with your life?" I said, "I don't know. Maybe I'll be a priest."
Right.
You know, and I said, not a bad idea. So but I had thought about that previous because a lot of my friends are, you know, in high school and after high school, I watched go down the wrong road.
Right.
And I talked to a lot of them, you know, who was starting to commit suicide, who was starting to overdose. And I wanted to do something about it because one of the priests at the high school helped me out at that time, my junior year, and helped me go from one road to another. You know, basically, like, pretty much led me down the right road.
Okay. So
Wow.
So you make this decision, right? How does your family feel about it?
My father said I'd be out in a week and a half.
That's fair. That's a fair. I could imagine that being, you know, South Philly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What do do you talk to your friends about this or?
Yeah, I was embarrassed at times. I
can understand that.
I didn't know what to say. They're like, oh yeah, but when I told them, they were like, yo, that's great, that's great. So I was like, okay.
You know, it's funny because we tend to do that a lot. Though. Like, oh my God, what am I going to say? People are going to know, like, oh man, good for you.
Yeah.
You know, it's not as, you know, all the stuff we built up in our head. That
it's all fake.
Oh, you know what? One of the, when I was in the corner, my brother started hanging on the same corner.
Right.
And my brother told everybody before I did. So I remember walking up to the corner, everybody staring at me.
Right.
I'm like, oh,
yeah, what's going on?
What's going on?
Right.
And then one said, yo, I heard you're going to be a priest. I went, oh, man. And I'm like, oh, what's coming after this?
Right. Here comes the joke. Here comes the ball breaking.
But it was, but it was all positive.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah,
it's different.
It's crazy
I
too.
understand expecting like, here we go. I'm not going to hear the end of this.
Yeah. No, I think the same thing because we talked about it all morning.
What are you going to do? You're never going to get laid. I can imagine all the things.
But we talked about it all morning, like how similar like my neighborhood is to your neighborhood. You know, we almost grew up identically. We just use different slang, you know. And for me, like I was an altar server, you know, Catholic. I carried the cross for an Egan, Cardinal Egan, I think. Like I was really involved. And every time I spoke to a priest and asked the priest why they became a priest, it was always a calling from God. That's always their answer. You know, you never hear a priest say, well, I was in this position in my life and went this way, right? Now, do you think, and I think this is a big question, do you think that because we all know each other, you're comfortable with telling us that, and those priests didn't know me, so they didn't give me their backstory? Or do you believe that a lot of priests just have this like white light calling from God? I've always wanted to ask you that.
It's easy to say, oh yeah, it was a calling from God. I got a calling. I don't know. Maybe God didn't have my phone number, but I didn't get a call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You made the call.
I made the call.
That's cool because you don't hear that a lot.
It was a crank call.
Right.
And you know what I said? I tell people, what I tell people is, you know, on the corner one night, we playing cards to see, you know, who everybody was to be. And they said I fell short because I lost the game, so I had to be the priest because we needed a character witness. Right. So we needed a character witness. I got the job.
So
that's pretty good. Right.
So you're right in. You're right in right after high school, right? Where do you go?
I went to the Norbertine Order, Dalesford Abbey. They were the order that taught at Newman.
So they taught right at Newman. You didn't have to leave the neighborhood, nothing.
No, I had to go out to like the farm, like to Paoli.
Oh, okay, but that was the order that taught. That was the same order. But
then I did move back into Newman 4 years later when I went to the school and taught.
So was that part of your plan?
Yes.
Being that I know that these priests they come back, so that was kind of part of the plan.
I wanted to do.
I want to do that.
Yeah, I want to come back and teach. Priest did how he helped me. I wanted to help others.
Right. So
yeah, you didn't want to end up in some random Catholic church in Pennsylvania or New York. You know, a lot of priests, they travel and go to like, you know, outside the area. You wanted to help the people that were
my neighborhood.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So you do that. So now so you go, how long is it? 4 years?
4 years to get my bachelor's degree, finish college. Right. Then we did a year of ministry where we taught at the high school. Then we went to theology to study theology for 4 years and then get ordained. And
then you come back to the high school?
Yes, you could.
Oh, is that what you did?
I did that for 1 year.
You did that for the year?
Yeah. And then I went into the Diocese of Camden. I transferred from the Norbertine Order to the Diocese of Camden.
And you were essentially in a church?
Yes.
Saying mass, doing what most people typically think of as a priest. Let me ask you this because, you know, when most people, I think of priests, right? All we think of, you know, say mass, you know, Sunday mass, this, that, do communion. What does the rest of it look like, right? What is, and I think, you know, obviously, you know, you're a community outreach guy. It's what you've always done. But what does the other part of the priesthood look like outside of Sunday morning when you're saying mass? You know, what is the...
It's like a fireman type of thing. You go where you're needed. You know, somebody's dying, you do a funeral. Somebody's getting married, you prepare them for marriage, sacraments, say mass.
Right.
You know, those types of things.
So, did you feel like there was an element missing there?
Well, I always, throughout the whole time, because, you know, I went in, after 7 years, I took a leave of absence for 7 years, went back for 7 years, took another leave of absence for 7 years.
Right.
So I'm this 7-year program in and out.
Yeah.
So I always worked in rehabs. My first job in the field, a full-time job, was working in detox in North Philly, Girard Medical Center in 1989.
That was fun.
Oh, it was a ball.
So when we talk in 1989, you said? So that's when you took a leave,
Yes.
right? So prior to that, though, right, especially I have to assume we're talking the 80s, right? There's really no connection between like church service or church outreach and addiction, right?
Well, when I went back to the high school after college, 4 years later, the principal and another priest started a drug program in the school.
In Newman?
At Newman.
Okay.
As Father Leonard, Father Fisher, myself. And the principal believed that as a Catholic school, we don't throw out our problems, we work with our problems. And so he would not throw out a kid who had problems with drugs and alcohol. And so we worked with them, sent them to rehab. We picked them up for a meeting on Tuesday nights, took them back to the school, had a meeting. They didn't have to tell their parents or anybody, but we'd all go a different route. The priest, the principal, and myself. I'd go pick up the kids from 10th and Oregon.
Right.
So I'd go pick up my young bucks.
Right.
And take them. And they were crazy.
So that was kind of radical for the time.
Yeah.
I'd say, right? That's what I'm saying. There's not, there was not a lot of connection between, addicts in the street and the church, or so that was kind of a new thing, right?
Yep.
So you guys,
the faculty didn't like it, and they booted out the principal.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
They didn't like that.
When you think of like like an Irish Catholic, like, it's everything's so hidden, so I could see the teachers in the school being the same way, like everything should be, this is a school, we shouldn't be a drug program.
Yeah.
And it made them feel uncomfortable because there were students that were probably still coming to school high, right? Because they didn't get sober yet, or they weren't able to get sober yet.
And they thought that the students who were in this program felt like they had carte blanche to do anything, like they could disrupt the classroom and get kicked out. And they could kick them out of their classroom, but they weren't getting kicked out of school.
Sure.
So
you're still keeping. So you're in Newman, you're teaching for that year, and then you're in Camden, right? So during those times, are you still kind of spending time in the neighborhood?
All
obviously in a different role. Hopefully, you're not still shooting dice.
Well,
God
was on my side, so I did good at the games.
So essentially, you were the neighborhood priest. Guys that you were not, some holier than thou. Now I'm a priest. I can't. You were still in the neighborhood. So when you make that trend, when you're in Newman, you still have a pulse on these guys. Like you said, you're pulling. They're not. These young.
I know where they're at. I know where they're hiding. I know where they hide their drugs.
Right.
They would. How'd you find this? I was doing this 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So you say you started working in treatment in '89 in North Philly. What's that like? Where are you? You're in a detox? Like hospital type?
Detox.
Like
Girard
Kensington,
Medical Center,
Girard.
Girard Medical Center.
Hospital.
There was 2 detoxes, 40 beds each.
Right.
One on the second floor, one on the third floor, methadone clinic on the first floor. It was crack was everybody was smoking crack.
Right.
AIDS was the full-blown AIDS epidemic.
Right.
So it was tough crowd.
Right. Tough enough to make you go back to the priesthood for
7 years, right?
Yeah. I still needed some time. I didn't go back till 95, but I worked at other places. After that.
And the drug of choice was crack, right? So you had Quaaludes at that time, right? Or you were on the back end of that.
Back end.
Okay.
Right,
Black Beauty, stuff like that. That was after. So you just started really getting
the
into
good stuff they don't make no more.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you got the big push of crack, right? And the AIDS epidemic, and then was heroin mixed in there too?
Heroin was always in there, but it was with a specific crowd. You know, it wasn't as widespread. It started to get widespread in the 90s.
Okay. And that's when crack started to die down. Well, not die down. It was still there, but, you know, you've seen the opioids start to grow. And obviously, we are here today.
Yes.
Right? So you watched that from the beginning to the end.
Yes. And I remember going into the Badlands in the early 90s to get pickup guys.
Yeah.
That were on the streets. And you didn't have cell phones then, so you had to go.
Right.
I had to go up and down the street.
Yeah.
So for Badlands is Kensington.
Okay, that was my next question.
Badlands is Kensington.
My next question was Kensington then?
Yes. Kensington has always been Kensington.
So when you were a kid,
outside of maybe the 50s,
15 years old, people were getting high in Kensington?
I didn't know Kensington existed back then.
Yeah.
It was only when I started to get really into after I was in Girard Medical, so, you know, worked at the detox, and I asked, you know, where they were getting and stuff like that. That's when I found out.
Got it.
So, 95, you make a decision, you go back into the priesthood.
I was 1 year old.
In 95?
In 95. Yeah.
I was...
That's so insane.
I was a year away from eating my first opiate.
Really?
Yeah. 96.
I was thinking about it. I just didn't have the money to buy my first one yet.
So you go back, you're back in the neighborhood, in a church?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, what is that like? Because I feel like, right? So now you're back into the priesthood, but you still kind of have this calling on you. Has the church situation in regards to addiction changed at all, or not so much?
Not really. There still wasn't any outreach.
No resources, nothing.
No, I wrote several things of how the church could do that.
Sure.
And joined some organizations that had some connection with the United States Catholic Council for Alcoholism. It was still alcoholism. When I got on it and joined the board, we changed it to addiction.
Got it.
Wow.
Got it. So, side note, let me ask you this. When did the John doesn't go to sleep until about 4:30 a.m. life start? Because
that was from grade school.
Back in the day, it's not as much anymore, but you could find John heavy on Facebook at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, I
still till today.
With Ricky Farrer, with a friend of ours who passed away. Yeah, I would love to. I would love to find my chance to get into some theological debate with John. You know, he's Catholic, I'm Calvinist, so it's a little, or whoever's talking.
We got a lot of debates.
Yeah, John's a heavy late night guy. Yeah. All right, so you're back in the you're pushing for change. We're talking mid 90s, right? When does your house open? That comes later, right? Not down here.
Yeah, up in Jersey.
Jersey first?
Jersey first in 2006. 2006.
2006. Okay, so we're jumping 10 years. So at this point, you're back out of the priesthood? You're kind of halfway in, halfway out?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm out. It was after I was down here working at the Boca House. Yeah.
So was Boca House your first extent down here?
Yes.
Let me ask you this. When did Florida start to become, at least for you, for South Philly? Maybe when and maybe who is the question, right? Was it Santo? Was Santo?
Santo was one of them.
Was one of the first that it became that Florida was.
It was Robert Abdella and
Santo and
Santo, Frankie.
Right.
And that's when you started getting guys out of the neighborhood.
Yeah. When I was working at Seabrook in the mid 90s.
Where's Seabrook?
Seabrook is in New Jersey.
Right.
And they had representatives from Boca House come.
Got it.
And so then I just start sending people to the Boca House.
Right. So,
and there was hardly anything down here. Florida was just like sober houses and just a few rehabs.
Sure, sure. So you send Santo down here? Or Santo made it here already?
Santo was after a few guys.
It was after a few guys. He's not the first. It's the first that I know. For me, Santo is like, if there's like a South Philly, like Mount Rushmore, it's like Santo, and then like for the originals, and then everybody like else. Frankie's. Yeah. Okay, so it was a few guys prior, and then so essentially, this becomes a destination for you to get guys, which makes sense. Which makes sense because I can imagine, you know, trying to do something right for a kid on 10th and Oregon. You know, you get him, you know, he gets some rehab, right, and then goes right back to 10th and Oregon. You know, they're probably or 12th and Ward or any other neighborhood. I'm just
or trying to get sober at the school down the block, right?
Period. So you're sending guys down here. Eventually. So you have the house in Jersey. We're talking 0506 now, right?
Yeah, that was after I was down here in 04.
So you are down here. You're down here in 04. You're working with Boken House.
Boken House, and then down in Hollywood, I worked for
with Gus.
No,
not yet.
But that was before. Gus came afterwards.
Got it. And you wind up back up there. So you're sending guys down here first. I just want to get this right. You're sending guys down here first, then you wind up down here. Kind of working within, still getting guys from up north, getting them down here. But
I drive the bus.
Yes, you did.
I would drive a bus. I'd go 12th and Wharton, pick up a few guys. Go to 10th and Oregon, pick up a few guys, make stops at various places, and head on down.
Really?
Oh,
listen, let me tell you something.
You were driving guys down here?
Tyler, let me explain this to you. I mean, I'm sure the statute of limitations is probably up at this point, but 100%. John probably could have been charged with kidnapping a couple times.
100%.
Like interstate human trafficking. I mean, but that's...
with intent to distribute.
That's what he did. You're sick. You're going to die. You're getting in this car and you're going to Florida, whether you like it or not. Don't bother calling home because they're the ones who sent me here to kick in the store and come get you. So let's go.
Yeah. And you weren't saying no really at the time, right? You were in these guys' faces.
No,
like,
we probably tied guys up and brought them down.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you didn't take no for an answer.
I made them an offer they couldn't refuse.
Yeah. Like, I'll...
All right, so
that's insane.
So you wind up back in Jersey. You have the house in Jersey, right? Still kind of sending guys down. So is the house in Jersey obviously you're helping people up here, but is it also a place for guys who come down here who eventually got to go back home? You get them with you, or is it mostly?
It was. Yeah, I took guys who were coming back home. Right. Like, so it's kind of reintroduction back.
Right. You're not just going back in your mother's house, you know, and back in the neighborhood.
And then people, because I opened my own, like, IOP.
Right.
Back then and did a lot of family work. And so it was a place where, you know, I had them live.
You had a big family meeting, right? For a long time? Right? What was that like? Was it just family, or it was like you and your family?
It was you and your family.
Right.
It's like you had to go with your family. Yeah. If you lived in my house, your family had to come.
Wow. Got it. And this is the Jersey house? Or
Jersey house.
Okay. But that lasted for a long time, right?
They said,
even past the Jersey house.
Yeah, it lasted straight up until
you made the full move back down here. So what's that experience like? Now look, you're kind of you're an old school city guy, right? So I'm assuming that those meetings were run like that, right? This was not the, the fluffiest of meetings, to say. But with family,
still not.
But with family on board, like your parents, I'm going to call you a dirtbag for what you're doing, and your parents are going to sit and they're going to nod. Yeah, you are a dirtbag for what you're doing.
No, my parents wish they met Father John, man. You know what I'm saying? Like over the years, bro. Like when my parents were introduced to Father John, they were like, "Where's this guy been? Like we needed him when we had you." You know.
And my reasoning behind it was because they, for people with addictions, you could go to AA or NA. And then the parents were going to Al-Anon and Nar-Anon by themselves.
Sure.
Everybody was separate. Right. So how do we, and the people going to Al-Anon and Nar-Anon, they were getting resentments towards, I used to call them Nar-Nazis, but they were, and it was, they were really, boom. And I said, but the goal of this is to get the family together, not to cause more division.
Yeah.
So we had something with that was a coming together moment where we could communicate, because if you're my son and you're not, like me and you are feuding all the time.
Sure.
Alex comes to the meeting. He's somebody I don't know, seems like a nice guy. And he starts to talk about his experience as a father. I'm listening to him going, oh, wow, man, that's something. But you may say the same thing. And I'm like, yeah, you're a dirtbag. But this kid, he's a good kid.
Yeah.
Right.
And his parents are thinking the same thing. They're looking at you like that.
Yeah.
Right.
So they'll listen to Alex where they won't listen to you. And you could be saying the same exact thing.
Sure.
The emotional content is taken out.
Sure.
And that's how they learned. That's how the parents learned about, like, because
what was going on. Yeah.
You know, I mean, the best was getting somebody who's just in there off the streets and they're feeding bullshit to their parents, and their parents are buying it, and somebody's got some time to go, wait, you believe him? Like, if I said that to them, they go, oh, that's Father John. He's just being mean and crazy.
Right.
But when another recovering addict says to the parent, goes, why shouldn't I? Like, no, I pulled that shit all the time with my parents.
Yeah.
And the guy in their circle, oh my God, shit, they're exposing me.
Yeah. But it's what they needed.
But that's the parents got the education.
Yeah. And
from the people they needed to get it from, other recovering addicts, not any social workers.
Yeah. And at that time, that's the first of its kind, right?
It was.
Wow. So you really invented something that was doing more than everybody else was capable of doing. Because we know, as we work in this field, and, you know, me and him had an argument on the last podcast. I said, you know, if I change one person's life, and he told me I put too much on myself, but you literally started something to get past where they were stopping at. Because we all know we can only get them to a certain point. You know, you get the horse to water and then you beg it to drink, but you were able to step over and literally help them drink.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And one of the reasons was selfish, because I was spending a lot of time on the phones with the people who had the addictions or the substance use disorders, whatever the proper word is.
Yeah.
And then
we don't use proper words. No.
And then another like bunch with the parents.
Sure.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The same conversation with all these parents, the same conversation.
Right.
You know what? I'm getting them all together.
Let's get everybody in a room. Let's
get everybody together and cut down my phone time.
Yeah.
But you see the pattern, because it was kind of what he did, the same thing with, right? You had the corner and you had the church, right? And there was no in between of what these guys on the corner what we're dealing with, and kind of same. So I have these Al-Anon parents and I have these addict kids, and you know they're getting meetings and information and all this over here, and I got the parents over here getting a meeting, and so where does it like meet in the middle so we can? And that's funny. I'm not doing two conversations over the phone. Let's everybody get in the room.
And everybody showed up because they wanted to save their kids, right?
Right.
And then families could show up even if their kid didn't come, and like other people in recovery came to give back.
Right.
So people had commitments
because I drugged them there.
Yeah. Sure. John knows how to do good hog tie, you know?
Absolutely.
You had him in the back of the car.
So you have the house in Jersey. When's the Philly house come along?
2013.
So did you make a Florida trip back or no? Between that?
No.
So
no,
06,
I was in the
Jersey.
priesthood.
You went back to the priesthood again
for 7
dabbled.
years. Like,
right.
That's from like 2010 or something to 2017 or 18, something like that.
Were you like saying mass and stuff? I just can't imagine John saying mass.
Well, that makes sense, because I met him probably around 2018 or somewhere around there, and I get a phone call. God rest his soul, my friend Sal Walker, and I get this phone call. Yo, you working in treatment? I'm like, yeah, I'm in Florida. What's going on? He goes, I got this crazy motherfucking guy, John. He's down my fucking back. He's screaming every morning. He's making me get a fucking job, bro. He's calling my mom.
In his house?
He's ratting him out. Yeah,
down here.
I never
up in Philly.
up in Philly
on 6th Street.
Yeah.
So I was
only ever.
Yeah.
I heard Father John's name one time. I worked in a detox, and somebody was talking about this guy, Father John. We came from Father John's, and then a couple of days later, I get this call from Walker, right? He's like, you got to get me the fuck out of here. This is terrible. This guy's nuts. He's going to fucking kill somebody in his house, right? And he's going off. And I'm like, I believe the kid. I grew up with him my whole life, you know? So we get him out of there. He ends up coming in.
So you get him out of there.
I get him out of there, right?
Do the wrong thing.
I do the wrong thing. I get him out of there. My junkie addict friend, right? God bless his soul. But, and then I get a call from Ralph. Like, oh, John said that some guy came to the Haven through some rep. I said, yeah, it's me. It's my boy. He's like, no, it's not how this works. He was like, that's my friend John. You call me if you fucking want to take somebody out of the house. Sal came down here, went through treatment. You had him down here too, right? I mean, me and John tried everything, bro. And still to this day, his mother calls me. I'm sure she calls you. This is the first time I've been thanked. When somebody passed away, she called me and thanked, and she was like, I can't believe you did so much for him. You know? And then, like, I can only imagine what John was getting, because John had him way before. You know, I thought Sal was still selling drugs on the street and he was in your house. But that was my first introduction to John. Like, this guy is loud. He is upfront. He don't give a fuck how you feel about what he says. But at the end of the day, if you listen to John Stabino, you will get sober, you know? And that's the facts, because I've been watching it over the last couple of years of my best friends, my family members going to his house and leaving and getting high. And then, you know, people that I know going to his house that are still sober today, you know?
So
it works, you know, his way works to a certain extent, right? And we still got statistics, people die.
It's
of
God.
course.
It's
But,
God's grace. I can't say anything but God's grace.
Yeah. You just share a message that's given to you. But the way you do it is different, you know? You do it like you're talking to somebody from the street, because you are talking to somebody from the street. Whereas, you know, we may have like, I don't know, I just lost the word, but we might have, you know, these things with therapists or case managers, right? Where they're telling you that you're doing something wrong, yet the person's getting better with you, complaining about it, right? Or they're getting babied by a therapist with, mommy, send $20, they need cigarettes, and you're telling him, go ask somebody for a cigarette or go get a fucking job. You know, that's what works.
So let me ask you a question. On a personal level for you, right? I want to understand the psychology. So look, we work in an industry, we work in a business where people die. That's part of it, right? I'm sure many more people have died than I even know are dead, right? That have come through treatment centers. But for you, right? You, for a large part of your time, you're not helping strangers. You're helping your young bucks from the neighborhood. You're helping your friends, children that have grown up, and, you know, people from your era and their kids. I don't know that there's many people that have dealt with death as much as you have in this industry on a personal level. Because all these guys you knew, these are guys from your neighborhood. These are these are your friends' children. These are your friends' friends. These are, you know,
my family members.
These are your family members. How do you deal with that? Because we struggle with, you know, it's always terrible to hear, but you deal with that, and these are kids, you know, essentially you have a house. You don't just show up a couple hours, like, you basically live at your house, right? You become, you know, another father figure to these guys. These are friends of family. How do you deal with that for somebody who has to deal with the unfortunate part of our business? People die, right? But for you, these are people you know and love dearly.
I'm crazy. I mean, it actually, you know, it's compartmentalized a little bit.
Sure.
You know, I have to compartmentalize it. I have to, you know, where I feel, but at that time, like, when somebody died, it's like, not only, you know, I have to deal with, you know, my emotion, but first and foremost, like, the family.
Who you know, who you also know,
yes.
right? Who you're also you might have grew up with them, South Philly, right?
Oh, yeah,
so you have to.
There's some classmates, you know.
Sure, right.
You know, his son died, and it was like, it hurt.
Sure.
Because it was his son. His son lived with me, and then
right.
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough, because, like, you know, people in the industry get callous. Like, when somebody dies, oh, it's a shame the kid died. I didn't have that luxury, just saying it and then not
right. It's not a stranger. It's not, you know, I helped a kid. I got, you know, it's just.
But most of the time, then I had to, you know, help the family and then do the funeral, preach the funeral, give the homily, and also process it with the other guys, and you know, and that's where my other part of my ministry, that was a big part and probably became the biggest part of it, is I started a support group for parents who lost children, called the Comfort Club. And I started the Prodigal House Foundation in 2006 to commemorate people who died, to commemorate people who died young, and it didn't have to be from addiction. It was a support group for parents who lost children, because as a priest, You know, when you come down and you greet the casket in the church and the family's standing behind it, usually it's a daughter or wife or something.
Sure.
But when it's the parents in front of their child's casket,
backwards. It's backwards.
It's mind-blowing. I'm like,
right.
You know, how are they standing?
Right.
You know, and I've never seen, I don't think there's any pain on earth greater than losing a child.
Sure.
You know, whether it's physical pain or torture, and to watch people go through that, I said, and I couldn't believe, like, other priests were so callous to it. Like, you just buried somebody's child.
Right.
You know, we have to do, it's got to be something different.
Yeah.
You just can't give a canned homily. Like, you got to know them. You got to speak to them. They're looking for you to give them words to get through the next minute, the next hour, the next month.
Right. Right.
It's so crucial.
So yeah, that's a good point. So you can't even you actually have to compartmentalize your grief, put it on hold for the moment. Because again, you got a relationship with these kids too. You know what I mean? These guys, they're a friend. So you have to put that aside because right now, current moment, I have to tend to family, right? These poor parents who lost a kid. Not only, especially, you know, like you said, these are South Philly kids, or South Jersey kids, you know, so not only are you tending to family, but then you're also like, just kind of comes with, because of who you are, I'm gonna have to say their funeral and like you said, put together I'm not just gonna put some, you know, change a name in a homily and say the same thing. Like I need that this has to be real. This is, you know, the last moments that, you know, their children are going to be above ground. So yeah, so you don't even get to deal with your process, right? Whatever that looks like, because that has to get put aside to be there for family, people, you know, like you said, it's not just strangers' family. It's not just, you know, even that, I don't care, you know, it would touch me to see two strangers burying their child, right?
Absolutely.
That's just a horrible thing to think about. These are friends. Yeah. Not only are the parents the friend, but friends, the guys that you've come to love, you know? That's a lot of grief to carry. Does it wear on you?
Not anymore. And I'll tell you why. Before I came down to Florida, there was a guy that died in my house. It was the first time I found him, and he you know, but he was peaceful when he died. It didn't look dead at all. It was, you know, but he was a very good kid. You know, I loved him. His family's amazing. And I realized at that time, like, because that was really
somebody I know.
No. I said, if I don't look at grief differently, it's going to get me.
Right.
And so I start looking at it as rather than grief, look at it as gratitude. Like, I'm grateful I knew this kid. Sure. I'm grateful. As a matter of fact, Anthony Verdi introduced me to the kid. Yeah. So I said, yeah, I'm grateful he introduced me to him. I'm glad he lived in my house. I'm glad I got to know him. This person who could have died on the earth that I never knew. Right. So I said, I was grateful for the time I got to know him, to love him, that we had a relationship, you know. And so I started looking at all the guys like that. Like, I'm grateful I know. So when somebody died, I started to look at it as gratitude. And it's that old cliche that says it's better to love and have lost than have never loved at all.
Sure.
And because I'll say that to parents, even if you knew that your son was going to die at 25 and that it was going to be the most painful, would you still want, if you had a choice, would you still opt to have him be born?
Right.
What's the answer? It's going to be yes.
Of course. You know, I will say, you do keep a lot of these guys' names alive, especially, what is it, August? You tend to do that.
August 31st.
But you tend to do that big throughout the month. Because, I mean, I'll see names of guys, you know, Shane, Tommy Riccardi, you know, Tommy Wilson, like of guys I haven't thought of, haven't, you know, they're gone, passed away, but I'll see John make a post.
Happens to me too.
You know what I mean? Like you kind of, you don't think about it. You're so caught up in life. And
Overdose awareness month.
Right. And that's your time where you really
Yeah.
Make sure.
And then he also has the garden too, right?
I got the garden.
How many pictures out there? Right? How many souls are in that garden?
Got to be at least 200-300.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have a picture of every single one of them.
Yeah.
And in some way, shape, or form, they have touched your life and you touched their life.
And these are people that John knew personally. It's not just people that have, passed. And these
hundreds.
are just...
And
so
like
that's
a way of dealing with, using the grief.
The gratitude.
I still talk to, like, I'm putting their picture up. If their picture falls down, I start cursing them. I start yelling at them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like to go over there once a year and like see the pictures. And my favorite one is there's a mirror, right?
Yes.
In the dead center of one of them. And every time I go, that's the first one I look at because it is a reminder that if you do not live correctly every single fucking day, that mirror turns into your picture, you know? Because God forbid I went out and got high and died, I'd end up in that fucking garden. Sure. You know? And that is a constant reminder. And there's a picture of you that you took of that where your face is dead center in that mirror. And I was like, John's one of them. You know, that's who you are. You integrate yourself with the sickest people on earth and just fight every fucking day to try to make this much of a difference. You know, even like BK Mike, right? How hard did you fucking try? I mean, you gave that dude everything. He gave you not one fucking reason, John, to help him. Not one. And every day you woke up and you were like, I'm going to break this dude, bro. That's the guy that we had to...
Who, Mike?
We had to kick him out of the group, you know? We had to cancel his contract.
I'm so glad he left the house.
Listen, one day he buys Jamaican flags, right? John has all these American flags over the property. He goes around all property, steals all the flags and replaces them with Jamaican flags. And then, what was his 7, 8 o'clock in the morning? He's blasting Jamaican music, wake the whole house up, bro. Yeah.
Well... Unless he searches this out on like Spotify or something, he won't see this podcast. So he's literally just blocked.
He'll find some way to see.
Yeah. We'll clip this one for him. But that just goes to show, like, this dude would, like, you know, at any moment he had, right, he would try to make your life hard.
Oh, yeah.
And you never gave up on him until there was one point where you were like, I cannot help you. Somebody else can, but I have done everything.
I don't even know if somebody else can.
18 months.
God is the only one that can help.
Yeah, he needs a lot of God and the Knights of Columbus, right? He joined the Knights of Columbus when he went home. Yeah, just save his life. Yeah. Like, and he invited me and John. He invited me and John to his inaugurational ceremony where they give him the sword and everything. Yeah,
that's the last thing that kid
me and John didn't show up.
So when do you make your final move down here? 15, 16?
19.
2019.
It was a month after the kid died.
And you came down and started working at TRT, right? You were doing groups?
I was working at for the Haven before that, up in Philly when we had Center City Recovery.
Yeah, I remember that.
Gotcha. So it was a month after the kid died on 6th Street? You just had enough?
Yeah, it was, you know.
It was time to make change.
Yeah. When we were closing Center City Recovery,
right?
I'm like, let me get,
just go
get out of here,
get out of here, come back down here. So, but you can't leave yourself because you come back down here and essentially do the same thing, which is needed, right? So you have the house. The house down here has been since 2019, basically, give or take.
Give or take, yes.
All right. So let me ask you this, because up there, Jersey, South Philly house. I mean, literally, the house is 6th and Earp. It's dead smack in the middle of the neighborhood. Right? Yeah. My side of the neighborhood. Now,
so you guys are from different sides of the neighborhood?
Yes.
We're out. I was born on 6th and Earp, which is a few blocks away from where he was born.
Okay. Right.
So I was like, if I would have stayed in my original house, I would have been 12th and Ward.
Right.
Got it. Right. Okay. You would have been in a completely different crew.
I would have been his
different crew. So there's a small South Philly. Essentially there's my side of Snyder and then the other side of Snyder. Like 12th and Wharton, 10th and Argan, mortal enemies.
Yeah. I know all about Philly now. He gave
mortal enemies.
Yeah. Okay.
Like Frankie, there's no reason I should like Frankie. He should be mortal because he's from 10th and Argan. I'm from 12th and Wharton. Yeah. There was epic wars that was going on.
Yeah.
But up there, right? You're running these houses. You're dealing with you know, South Philly Roughnecks, who we know you can, I mean, literally you can like choke a kid, and it's like part of this game, right? Which you probably have choked a few kids.
That's all right.
The parents would listen, if he gets out of
choke
hand,
him, choke him, and right. And I don't care, throw, you know,
hit him with the strap.
Right. So, yeah, you know, but for
we
guys
needed
from the neighborhood from the street, you kind of needed that, right?
You needed that.
You make a transition to Florida, right? Not everybody coming in is from South Philly anymore. What is that kind of culture shock for them? Where they're like,
for them.
Whoa, what is this place?
They went and cried to their counselors. Said that their parents are going to get mad
every day, right?
How many counselors have you had to talk to? Like, what is going on over there?
Oh, they're afraid to talk to me to counselors.
Yeah. They stopped calling. They don't call no more. Me and John talk about it all the time. They just don't call no more. They don't believe in what he does, and you know, they believe in let's try to baby you and bring you back and baby you and bring you back. And John's like, no, you're gonna get sober or you're gonna go fucking die,
bro.
Or
I'm gonna hit you with a bat.
Exactly. You want to kill yourself, and you know you want to put your parents through that. I'll take care of it right now. Right. I'm pretty sure you've said that once or twice.
Right.
Yeah.
So big swing, right? From kids from different
areas. It's also a different era too.
Yeah.
It is, right? It's a different era of addiction. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
When do you think?
And family life, you know, because now the parents are like, even the ones from our neighborhood get all upset. Oh my God, you yelled at him.
When do you think that? When do you think? And you're right, but when do you think that started to happen? You know, when did that change start to where it was like
around I wanted to say the turn of the century, and it really was the turn of the century, around 2000.
Them kids that started growing up in that era. So the kids, these kids that are in their 20s now, it's such a different generation than, you know, kids born in 80 to 2000, kids born in 20 to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were like, my generation was probably the last generation where you get hit with a belt if you did something bad and your parents didn't get arrested.
Right, play outside. And...
Yeah, you go play outside until the street light comes on and no cell phone, and you know, you rode a bike everywhere you went, like.
But
and then it turned.
Yeah, but I get it too though, because look, you know, I went to high school. I went to Central, right? I sat on the subway 45 minutes every day in the morning to go to school. There's no chance in the world, if I still lived in Philadelphia, I would let my son get on the subway for 45 minutes by himself every day.
Way.
In this day and age. No chance in the world.
No.
I get it. You know, so I get it. But then there is the other side of like, yo, your kid is dying, and you're like, you're babying him is helping him along into dying. So have you switched the approach at all? Slightly. A little bit.
You have to.
You have to, right? Yeah. You have to be somewhat effective.
Yeah, but
I have to, you know, the other part is, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, but addicts understand. Addicts thrive and they love chaos. Love it. And if there's no chaos in the house, they're going to go outside to get the chaos.
Right.
So every now and then, I'll just inject a little chaos.
Go shake things up a little bit.
Shake things up. They come out of their, if it's not them now.
Yeah, of course.
It's not them.
Yeah.
They'll come out of their rooms with the popcorn and like, who's yelling at? Oh, good.
Right. Every time you're flipping out on as long as it ain't them.
But the funny thing is, and they'll tell you, like, I'll flip it out on somebody, and I'll turn around and somebody else, like, I'd be laughing, like, I got him. And everybody's laughing. The kids get
right.
But they know at the end of the day, it's for entertainment purposes only.
And I'm never going to tell you anything wrong. Right.
But I do, you know, follow up with it. And the thing is, if they didn't have, like, nobody would take that unless they already had some respect for me or I had some type of relationship. I won't go to the Haven or TRT and start yelling at people. I don't have the relationship with them.
Right.
Once you develop that relationship, once I develop that relationship with them, it gives me an opportunity to go further. And what I always say to them is, my job is to get to your pain. And I said, if you go to a doctor and you're laying on the table and you have stomach problems, he'll press, say, where's the pain? Where's the pain? Where's the pain?
Right.
So what I got to do, I got to hit, go press. Where's the pain? When they go, ow, I know that's where the pain is. So when I get a reaction from them,
right,
that's when I know that's where the pain is.
That's where we got to fix.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like a lot of the stuff that John does is just cool. You know, you go above and beyond. Like people, I mean, I don't go as far as you do. And, you know, I've been working in this field for 10 years and haven't even scraped the surface to what you've been through and what you've done. Like you were on steroids this whole time, right? Like you were helping everybody to the extent, the top, you know, like you never slowed down, probably still till today, right? Maybe you took like your foot off the gas maybe a little bit, but you were like full throttle as soon as you got into this. Like, you know, I'm saving lives. I'm going to do everything I can to save a life.
I'd say that because I never say I saved a life. And people say, oh, you saved my... Nope. Do not tell me I saved your life. I do not save lives. God may save lives, but I don't. And the reason I say that is twofold. One, because I don't want to get an ego and think, oh, yeah, I said... The other part is if the person dies, I don't want to be like, you know, you killed my son or you failed to save a life.
Yep.
Right. I'm not that powerful. And so if I don't want to take the responsibility for the consequence of somebody's death, I certainly can't take responsibility for also saving their lives.
Wow. Yeah. So you're just a teacher, right? In the simplest of forms, you are a mentor, you're a guide, you're a teacher, right? You're there to just guide these people to the right way. Like somebody guided you to the priesthood back in the day. Yeah. That's exactly what you're doing for people. They're just not becoming priests. They become, or maybe they are, right? But in different avenues, you have people that you have directly touched that are super successful and do great and have families and kids and everything. Like, but you also have that other side. So I could see how you can't, you know, you don't grasp either one. You're just the middleman.
Yeah, I have to. Like, because otherwise there's no other way to do it.
Yeah.
Because I see these phony people, they walk around like they sponsoring 17 people. I got all Gucci shit. And oh, yeah, I could save your life.
I always hated that term. Whenever I save lives for a living, no, you don't.
That's what John thought about me when he first met me. He seen me, I was in my Louis loafers.
Bro,
and he was like,
what I thought about you when I first met you, too.
And then you get to know me, and you're like, oh, he cares. He actually cares.
And I was say, the look of him, there's absolutely no reason I should like this guy, but I love him.
I got pearl bracelets on. I'm wearing chrome hearts, chains, tight jeans.
I still break a stone every day, but I'm not wearing socks.
Of course, yeah.
Absolutely.
We were in Jersey, right? And what was the mayor or whoever, some politician guy, bro. I'm standing outside, and John walks by me and is like, "Oh, would you leave your socks in the car?" And I laugh, and then this random guy comes up, grabs my hand, and he's like, "Come on, I got socks in the car for you." And he's pulling me, right? I looked at him. I said, "Who the fuck are you?" He's like, "I'm the senator or the mayor or something." Right. He was like the mayor of fucking New Jersey. I'm like,
say Florida, bro. They put socks on him.
Yeah, they wear socks up there, but I'm the only guy with, you know, my ankles showing and socks, you know. I like to roll a little bit. So do you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you wear socks, though.
I wear socks. I wear no shows. You ever missed a priesthood?
Yeah. Yeah.
What part of it?
Preaching. I mean, and the sacraments, baptism, weddings, funerals.
Really? You don't do them at all anymore, right?
No.
You owe me a
not that I could talk about.
You owe me a baptism. You owe me two baptisms.
I know.
I just want a rogue baptism.
You owe me a marriage.
I'm a rogue Christian. I just want a rogue baptism for my kids. That's all I'm asking for.
I'm a Roman Muslim, so don't, you know.
Yeah. That's interesting. So you miss it some. So I understand that.
What I miss about preaching is I like being able to break down complex things in simple, realistic ways.
Sure. That
people never thought of it before.
Right.
You know, listening to the same old scripture with new ears. You know, so it's the most common feedback I got from people was, "You're real. You know, when you're not talking about like,
right." I never heard it that way.
Yeah. Right. You're like, wow. You said, you know, I used real life experiences. I used experiences from the city, from our neighborhood,
right,
that people could relate to.
Sure.
And I never preached to people. Right, like never.
Yeah. But your homily, like people would be sitting up listening to you, right?
Yeah.
Because the other priest that was just sitting and saying the same thing he said on the same day last year, you were talking real life. So you could actually engage people in church Whereas the other guy, you know, a regular priest was up there and he's doing the homily and everybody's just sitting back like, okay, here we go again.
I'd yell at them if they weren't paying attention.
Really? Father Dwyer did that in my neighborhood. You look down, right, in my Catholic church, and Father Dwyer would come up and he'd like grab your leg and scare the shit in the middle of the homily, bro. Pay attention. Come on, let's go. And I mean, Father Dwyer was nuts, but that's cool.
By the time you got a priesthood, Latin Mass was gone.
How old do you think I am?
I don't know when Latin Mass was gone.
Yeah.
You said you out in the 90s.
Yes, it was gone,
Latin.
Yes. It left in the 60s.
Did it? Oh, wasn't that long ago?
Mm-hmm.
But some people still do Latin Mass, right?
I think every once in a while there's like a church that'll have one service.
Yeah.
It's like, 4 a.m.
Yeah, but the people that
do the
understand
that's a whole crew. That's a people, like, it's a cult.
Yeah.
People
like
like
the
that.
originals, they want.
Yeah, the traditionalists. They
Right.
like their Latin Mass.
And how does that work? In a homily in English?
I think, the homilies in English.
But they say the Mass in Latin.
Mhm.
That's
Listen, you know when John's great? Whenever, you got to pay attention. If we're still around, he's fairly young, so it might be a while. But whenever the next pope dies, right?
Oh,
John, he's in. John starts. He's got betting lines going. Who the next pope?
Really?
Oh yeah.
taking your action.
I'm not Catholic, right?
Yeah.
Right. I'm Presbyterian, Calvinist. But John is the in for me. I like anything else. I like to pay attention to these things.
Yeah.
John's got the betting lines.
Yeah.
He's giving the breakdown on who and why and who may be the next.
He knows
one
when
up.
the color of the smoke is changing, everything, right?
I lost like $60,000. and the reason I didn't know I didn't lose it. I would have had 60,000.
Right.
I was betting.
Did you bet? Did you say Francis was the guy?
Yeah, and I even picked the name.
Really?
And
that's right. What's his original name?
Bergoglio, Mario Bergoglio.
Right.
And Jorge Mario Bergoglio. And I was picking him as it was getting later, and I tried to bet with Paddy's Power. It was in Ireland. You can't bet outside the country.
Yeah.
Right? Then I tried to bet with Vegas.
Right.
But I didn't have a credit card. I only had a debit card. And I needed a credit card.
Right.
And then he won. The smoke came. He won. And my second reaction, my first was I was shocked. I said, yeah. I went and I figured I didn't say damn. I said another word I don't want to say. Yeah. But 4 letters like Pope.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I said, I went and calculated the odds, how much I was betting.
Yeah.
And it came to like $40,000 or $60,000.
Holy shit.
Now,
it's crazy to have that knowledge, though. Do you see this? But but I mean, you've watched the Pope change on the news.
Yeah, but that's my little hobby. That's a hobby.
Yeah.
Okay.
So but listen, it's just like
what's it called? The like when they all go in that room and they lock it.
Conclave.
Yeah.
Okay, so when they go in there, right?
Yeah.
Do you know them? Because how many people are in that room? 100.
120.
Okay, and you probably know what 90 of their names.
I know.
No, but listen,
I make
it's
it a study.
It's just like, and you can correct me if
He
I'm
knows
wrong.
120 of their names.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just like there may be 90 guys in there, but like, okay, these 10 are the ones that are like in the running.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like your fantasy football team, you're picking, you're
right.
You're studying
you don't need to know every
You're
running
doing
back.
the same thing.
Yeah. It's like
you just need to know your top 10.
I know my Cardinals. Right.
Yeah. And it's a pick from the Cardinals around the world?
Yeah.
So every Cardinal, when the Pope dies, like Cardinal Egan, right, in New York, he had to go to Rome to sit in that council, and they vote? Okay. Yeah. So 120 people vote for who the next Pope's going to be, and that's when the smoke turns from black to white, and you have a new Pope.
So is it like an electoral college? Like they have to get a certain amount of votes?
Yes, they had to get 2/3.
Okay, so every day.
2/3 plus
so
1.
what is it? Every day, at the end of the day, they don't get it, that black smoke goes out, right? Okay, we're coming back in tomorrow. So it's just over and over until they get, so 2/3 is the mark. Once they get 2/3, the white smoke.
I have a weird question. What do they burn when it's black and white smoke?
That's a good
ballots. They burn the ballots.
Black smoke?
And they put something on it to make it white.
Wow. Nobody ever told
me
that.
I know. I'm telling you, John's the guy.
Inside information.
John's the guy for this.
Yeah, because I mean, when they changed the Pope, like I always like watch. My mom's Roman Catholic. She's church on Sunday. She don't miss, so she's involved in it, and I think it's cool. Like I have my own problems with the Catholic Church and how they operate and stuff. We get into that personally, but it's cool that they get together and like everybody comes from around the world to decide who's going to be next, rather than having the Catholics vote for like a president, you know, because that's how you would think it should be, right? Like all the Catholics should get together and vote for who the next person is, but they have their own way of doing it. That's cool. Yeah, let me know who you think's going to be the next one.
Well, you got to wait till
I'll fly to Vegas.
Listen, bro, it may be a while. France is fairly young, right?
He's 80. He'll be 88 in December.
Okay, for a pope. I mean, you know, these guys live good. He might live to 90.
He got God on his side,
How
too.
old was John Paul II?
84.
Yeah.
Oh, was he? I saw he was fairly young.
Well, he was young when he was elected, so.
Okay, that's why he was so long.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you this: Benedict or Francis?
What about it?
Which one?
Francis.
You were a Francis guy? Wait, was it Benedict? No,
Benedict,
what was it?
Benedict.
It was Benedict, right? You're a Francis guy? He's a little radical, right? A little more so than...
He's more progressive, yes.
More progressive. Benedict was heavy theological, right?
Yes, he was a brilliant scholar, brilliant theologian.
Did you have him pegged or no?
He was the one I didn't want.
But did you think he was gonna?
Yes.
You didn't want why? Because he's more a scholar than a...
He was conservative. He was
conservative. Now, but let's break this down. When you say conservative, we're talking about the church, right?
Yeah.
So what would you give an example of, like, what you would consider like a progressive priest as opposed to like a conservative priest within the scope of what we're talking about? Now we think progressive, conservative, we start talking Democrat, Republican, but what does that look like within the priesthood?
Conservative would be like maybe more like that, the traditionalist, like back in like how the church was in the 50s.
Doctrinal, very theological.
Yeah, right or wrong, no gray area.
Right.
And the progressive or more liberal, I guess, would be, you know, no, let's look at this. Let's weigh out the, you know, the morality of it.
Sure.
And, you know, not causing people evil or you're going to hell and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, like, I mean, I hear horror stories of most people leave the church because of an interaction with the priest or a nun or the church.
Is that the case?
Yeah.
Is that the case? I could see that. I can understand that, depending on...
That was some of my big turnoffs, you know? Yeah, well, when we were young, I was probably in like 7th grade, our like Catholic school priest committed suicide. And at that time, I knew enough about the Bible that, like, if you committed suicide, you went to hell, you know? So right away, I was like, if this guy gave his whole entire life to something...
If you what? You went...
Like I said, if this priest gave his whole entire life to the priesthood to get to a point to where he was going to take his own life, something has to be wrong there, you know? And that's what started my mind going, was that experience. And then I had a bad experience with a priest in high school, and then that was it. You know, I was off. I stopped praying after that. You know, I went from altar boy to bad experience to... You know, now we talk about it. I read the Quran. I've been, you know, like experimenting and reading Hinduism and trying to figure out what makes sense.
He's going right to the roaster.
Yeah, okay. God loves me the best, bro. I read all the books, you know? Come on, baby. And I got Father John on my side, too. He's meeting me at the gate with the key. You know, Father John swiped the key real quick for us. We got to have fun, man, you know?
Yeah, I don't... Maybe we just had a slew of good priests at Annunciation, but I don't remember ever like really being...
Yeah, Annunciation was pretty good. That's where I was baptized.
Annunciation? Yeah, I don't remember just having like being rubbed the wrong way by a priest ever.
Yeah, no, we always had good priests. I mean, like Father Dwyer was like a little funny. Like we would do funerals as altar servers and, you know, the family would tip you at the end. He would take your money, right?
Really? And I remember that.
You were not allowed the original amount. It was 0 or double. And he would take the money behind his hands, Father Dwyer, and hold his hands like this and say, pick a hand. If you pick right and you got 20, you would get 40 or you get 0.
Yeah.
I only won twice, right? The next time we did a funeral, my best friend Brendan had passed away. I'm like, yo, listen, I'm going to go get the money from him because he would get it from the families. I need you watching behind them. So go around, you know, the parish and look through the back window. I picked a hand. Father Dwyer put the 20 in the other hand, bro. He's robbing all of us for years.
He switched it up.
Yeah, that was a good gig, man.
Yeah, left, and he'd take right. We were doing 4 funerals a week. You know?
But listen,
we didn't have tons of churches in my neighborhood.
But weddings were always better than funerals.
Oh, way
Wedding
better.
tips were always better.
Because you could grease them a little bit. Oh, your bride looks beautiful,
Best
man.
man's drunk and he gets...
Weddings are always better than funerals.
Some altar boys made more than me.
Did they take care of you yet? No, they didn't take care of me yet. Yeah.
Right.
I left a wedding one time like $150, bro.
No,
you know,
weddings,
in 8th grade, that was like $1,000.
Yep.
It's insane, man. It's just funny that we grew up in like different places and we have all the same experiences.
The stories are the same.
And then John grew up.
I would have took you for an altar boy though.
Yeah, I got a picture. I think it was Cardinal Egan. I got the big cross because I was the tallest guy. You know, he did
you wear socks?
I wore socks. Yeah,
back then he wasn't a Florida guy yet.
Yeah, I wasn't a Florida guy yet. But yeah, they have a picture of me in the Bronx Times or some New York. I was on the front page, bro, carrying the cross. And then like 5 years later, I'm addicted to all these drugs. And my mother's like, what the fuck just happened? You know, like I had an altar boy son and now I got a drug addict son. And it happened quick. But like Father John said, you know, like it's those little experiences with bad priests that just kind of, and it shouldn't have, you know, I should have been more of a man and been like, there's something wrong with you, not something wrong with the organization, you know? But that's a lot of people. They blame the person, right? It's always the person, like you said, you know, one priest, one bad experience, and now you don't go to church no more.
What do you think is affecting church attendance most now in this day and age?
I think people are less drawn to organized religion and have been talking about being spiritual as opposed to religious. And I think it's because institutions have failed people. And, you know, there's a book I'd like to write at one point, Suffocating Grace. That's the title of it. It's how institution, anything that's a spiritual movement, whether it's the church or AA or thing, when you institutionalize it and bring men into it, women, whatever, humans, it starts to become more human and less spiritual.
Right.
And so where the institution takes on a life of its own. We see that at AA meetings where, like, you know, some kid comes in, he's on drugs or whatever, and he's at an AA meeting and he talks about drugs. And they go, hey, no, you can't talk about that here. Like, you just ruined somebody's, they're never going back to a meeting.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And the church does that too. Whereas it's not what God would do. It's not the spirit of recovery, but the institution does it. The AA meeting, the church. And so I think that's just, people are not grooving on institutions. And then it's not much as identity. And you have like so many like mixed marriages.
Yeah.
Like back in our neighborhood, a mixed marriage was between an Italian and an Irish.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And now it's like you have Muslims marrying Catholics, Christians, and Jews, like every. So
right, even a Catholic marrying a Protestant, it's just I'm not going to mass, and they wind up doing nothing.
It's
they don't go to mass, they don't go to
culture.
service. Right.
That's why there's so many few like cultural neighborhoods now. You know, like my Italian neighborhood. You know, culture dies. You know, when like you said, like mixed marriages. You know, and as we get farther and farther away, marriage is just going to mix and mix more. In 20 years, you're not going to know what you are. Right, you're going to be so many things because it's so mixed. And like with like Irish Catholics. Like when you start to get the Irish out of the Catholic goes with the Irish, you know, because it is a family thing, right? Like you're provided your religion based on where you were born, to whom you were born, right? You were born in the Middle East, you would have been Muslim.
Sure.
Point blank, there was nothing changing it.
Sure.
You were born in the Bronx, you know, you were a Catholic. But when you mix those two, you have a decision to make, and usually it's none. They both denounce whatever they have, right? And usually take a spiritual path.
See, that spiritual path thing, whatever that means.
Yeah, the universe.
That was always a problem for me with my issue with like AA or NA, right? Now, you know, you remember I told you the story how I used to like steal books from the Barnes & Noble and brought in Chestnut and go sit in Rittenhouse Square on heroin and read books. But some of those, I'm a little wiser, as in less argumentative as I was in my youth, but I'm a hardcore Calvinist. Like, and I can, John will tell you, I can get down on some doctrine. Like we can go. You know, I mean, I would go and steal books by St. Augustine or R.C. Sproul, John McCall, reading in the park high on heroin. But I always had an issue with the mentality of, all right, what is step one? What's step one?
This giving you power, right?
What is it? Well, what's the term? You know, what is it? We gave our lives
over to the power of God.
Oh,
right?
no. It was step one is we came to believe that our life was unmanageable.
There you
right?
go. Sorry, guys.
And what's I don't. What was 2? We came to believe that a power
greater than ourselves.
Okay, so here's my problem. So here's my problem here, right? So in step 1, I'm admitting that I'm a selfish, self-serving, vindictive, manipulative drug addict, right?
Or alcoholic.
And now in step 2, I'm tasked with coming up with this concept of God. Well, what concept of God am I going to come up with? A selfish, self-serving, you know, manipulative God. Because the God I'm looking for at that stage in my life is like, is the cosmic butler in the sky who's going to come serve me when I need him.
Great job, nice car.
Yeah, great. Oh, God, how I need this. You know, look how God blessed me with my... So for me... That was, and I'm not knocking it. It's just, look, that's just me and my point of view, but it was always an issue for me, you know.
That's because you think of things in a deep manner, like I do, you know.
Maybe, and I mean, for me, like the way God works, it's just the way I believe it, and you know, if Mickey Mantle hits a home run in the bottom of the 9th, it's because God said so. Yeah, that's Calvinism in a nutshell. You know,
we've had. Like, if we go back on our Facebook history, we went round for round.
Free will, all kinds of stuff. Oh, yeah, we could battle this stuff. So it was always...
I wish I was in that conversation.
It's you know, I don't knock it. It just... And that's fine, right? Hopefully your path brings you to some understanding.
100%.
But for me, it was a sticking point because I'm not coming... Who am I to come up with my own concept of God? My concept of God, I'm a selfish, self-serving pig. You know? What concept of God that I'm gonna come up with is a selfish somebody who's gonna fill my selfishness and self-serving pig needs.
You're gonna go get high.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe not.
But for me, it just that was always a sticking point.
Yeah. So it was always put to me because that was my same argument, you know, and they told me to find something bigger than myself. Go look at the ocean, you know, like, so that's how I see God. Like, there's all these things around us that work perfectly in harmony that didn't happen by accident, you know. So that's how I know for certain that there's something bigger than us, you know, whether you call it God or whatever you call it, the universe, Allah, like, you know, there has to be something, because this shit don't make no sense, you know, like our bodies heal themselves, you know, the way you're put together, like it's perfect, you know, it's a perfect running machine. Our earth is a perfect running machine. The body is a perfect running machine. Like, somebody had to make that, you know, so I don't think you could argue that there is no God, you know, there has to be something up there. It just, you know, what do you call it really, right?
Fair. That's fair.
We could get into this later, though. I see you.
No. I don't.
He is cooking something, and he loves.
No.
Yeah, you are. It's okay.
No, it's fair. It's a fair statement.
All we do is go back and forth.
Sure.
We can have a God session one time.
Yeah, sure.
We will. We will. Yeah, I'm happy we did talk about God, though.
I'll win that debate.
Okay.
I'll win that debate.
I'll bring my Quran.
Your Quran ain't gonna help you.
Okay, buddy.
I know that book too.
Do you?
Yeah.
Read it?
Parts of it.
Okay. You only need to read parts of it. That's the funny part. Yeah.
There's a funny part.
Yeah, that's a really funny part.
There ain't no funny parts in that book. Anyway.
Depends what you think's funny.
Anyway. Did you watch? Well, was it Anthony Hopkins and somebody else? The Benedict and the two popes. Yes. Did you watch that?
Excellent movie.
Excellent movie.
Excellent movie.
I put that on my list. I have to watch that.
Excellent movie.
I like to watch that too.
Yeah, is that what it's called? The two popes.
Very much. All right. Got the character of both.
Let me ask you this, right? Let me ask you this, and I know we're like way off track, but this is what we do in this podcast, right? The significance, and I don't think it's ever happened before, right? Benedict stepping down as Pope.
A Pope hasn't retired in like it was like 700 years.
Wow. So how does that work, man?
700 years.
700, yeah, but they just retire. So
how many popes is that?
Or maybe 400 years. It was the last Pope that did it was I think Calixtus, and he was elected at the longest conclave, and he was like a monk, and he didn't want to even be the Pope. So he did a few things and said, all right, I'm out of here. And that's back when the papacy was like corrupt as
right.
The day is long.
It's like getting elected president.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And but yeah, it was but that was very much Benedict. If you knew him, he thought he watched John Paul I like just get like incapacitated and tried to run the church, and he knew he wasn't running the church anymore.
Right, right.
And he, you know, I gained a lot of respect for him over the years of his papacy, even though I didn't agree with him on everything. You know, he was a holy man, and he was principled.
So, what? I'm gonna ask this question, and then I'm gonna hit you with the debate question, because this is all just a setup. What does his role officially become after that?
That's being debated right now.
Really?
Yeah. Are you the Pope Emeritus? But you really are the bishop. Is the Bishop of Rome?
Is the Pope? The Pope is the Bishop of Rome.
Pope is the Bishop of Rome.
Okay.
Which in tradition is first among equals.
Right. So there's debate of what that title or what your
yes.
So here's my question, right? If, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but my understanding is the Pope is infallible in matters of doctrine and theology, right?
Yes, but people don't understand what infallible means.
Okay, give me that. Give me that.
Infallible means that in speaking only in tradition or doctrine, in issues of doctrine or tradition, that you can declare something infallible only if it's accepted by all the bishops in the world. So you can't just say something and say it's infallible. The bishops have to assent to it.
Okay, and the Pope is the only one that can make that announcement.
He'll make that announcement, and then
he has the authority
if it has acceptance.
That's what I'm saying.
Acceptance,
right?
From the
does the acceptance come first?
He'll pretty much.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Right.
And in the whole history of the Catholic Church, there have been only 2 infallible pronouncements. Only 2.
Which are what?
The Assumption of the Blessed Mother and the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Mother. 2 of your favorite things.
Well, the Immaculate Conception, I get that. The Assumption, I don't. I mean, is that even written anywhere, or is that some Catholic?
It became a tradition. It was so much of a tradition that's why it was pronounced infallible, because it was so widely accepted.
Right. Okay.
So you're only going to get something widely accepted as infallible. It's not that, you know, the Pope pronounced the Eagles the best football team. And
right. God's an Eagles fan.
Yeah,
I, the Pope, hereby announced that God is an Eagles fan.
Poor God.
That's awesome.
Poor God.
Yeah, it would be tough.
Yeah, it would. Okay, that's it. That makes sense. That makes sense. Because my question was going to be what, you know, at that point, you know, Benedict's still infallible, who's infallible, who's not. Yeah. But it's more of the authority to make the announcement.
And it's power. It's like we have, you know, or when a president leaves office, they no longer have the power.
Right,
so it's basically the same concept.
Benedict passed? Or Benedict
yes,
still
he
did pass, right? He did pass, right?
New Year's 2 years ago.
Who was... Did John Paul ever get... Did they make John Paul saint?
Yes.
Is that right? How does that work? I'm not going to debate this. I'm not going to get into the...
You know, it's a canonization process. You have to... Somebody got to pray to him. Miracles got to happen. Miracles got to be confirmed.
Right. Did that happen with him? Miracles? They assigned miracles to him? You ever done an exorcism? Come on, tell me yes.
No, I haven't.
I
probably need one.
I was going to... I know there's guys you dealt with, came in the house,
100%.
walked in 6 and Earp, all PCP'd up. They probably needed an exorcism.
Yeah.
You never did an exorcism? Come on, John.
You know somebody who has?
I was going to say, you ever talk to a priest? Like,
no.
Really?
Does the priest... Might not be a real thing. It might be a movie thing.
No, it's not a movie thing, right?
Each diocese has an exorcist.
They do. 1
or 2 exorcists, yes.
Steal a check. They don't do nothing. When's the last time anybody ever...
Yeah, that's crazy. I got an off-the-wall question. You might like this one, right? What do you know about the Vatican Library?
That's a good question.
Right? So
probably nothing, because he ain't, you know, not many people get in there.
No, here we go. I stole a book from there. No.
God, why'd you do that to me, bro? I got all excited.
You're talking about a guy who could have won 60 grand betting on the last
I was just about to dump my bank account and give me the book, right? But like, I do a lot of research, man. And like, so I was told, based on my research from people who know what they're talking about, that only 30% of the library at the Vatican is accessible to everybody. Why do you think the other 70% isn't?
Because they're manuscripts, they're ancient books that you don't want handled by people.
Yeah. But I'm not talking people. I'm talking like, you know, how many people are allowed in the 70%, right? You got the Pope and what, 4 or 5 people maybe?
What? And you're talking about the inner...
In the 70%, because it's temperature controlled, it's behind bulletproof glass, like it is built like a vault, right?
Yeah, because, you know, you got like a lot of...
like papyrus
artifacts.
Yeah.
Things that might have been touched.
It's like a museum.
Jesus.
It's more like a museum.
Yeah.
And the dicastery that takes care of that is, you know, the part of the library and the archives of the church.
Okay.
And it's not like you have a book.
Yeah.
You know,
no, I have a general understanding of what it would probably look like a museum.
It's more open now, and as they have to. Like they could put it on like microfilm and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that it's being more accessible that way.
Okay.
Like online.
Yeah. Because a lot of people think that the reason that, you know, the Roman Catholic library at the Vatican is away and 70% of it is put away is because there's knowledge in there that contradicts the Bible, right?
Absolutely there is.
Okay.
I mean, there's common knowledge. It contradicts the Bible.
Yeah, but what I'm saying
the Bible
like,
contradicts itself.
So for instance, right, there's a guy who swears up and down that the staff that Jesus Christ held, that shepherd's staff, is in the Vatican library, like stuff like that, that could debunk Roman Catholic beliefs, like things that they could say, look, this is in the Bible. We've been reciting this and saying this for the last 1,000 years, but the Pope's hiding this book that says the opposite. And the reason why, you know, it's kind of tucked in the back is so nobody could read it, so that you can't. How many times they rewrite the Bible? So
many things that they say are in the Bible. It's like,
well, my problem with it is it was written by man, right? The Bible is written by man, and then it was transcribed.
2 women.
From Latin was
Esther.
The first, or was it Aramaic?
Esther, you know, she's in the Bible.
Yeah, but she didn't write it.
I don't know. They didn't write it.
What's the first language the Bible was written in? Not Aramaic, because Jesus spoke Aramaic, right? So it had to come later.
Well,
Hebrew.
It's
Hebrew or
Latin.
Latin. It's Hebrew, yeah, because the old, you know, the Old Testament.
It's very complicated, and I you know, to get into how the Scripture came to being, it's very complicated.
But I'm talking about the translations over the years, right? So from the first Bible to our current Bible, that's not the same book. Can't be, because things get lost in translation.
Yes.
Wait, so say it again. Say it again.
I
ain't letting this slide by. Guys.
Listen, the first Bible ever written, right? They took all these stories and they put them together.
It really isn't a first Bible ever written. It was put together through a selection of books.
Okay, so
some made it in and some didn't.
Yeah,
and
but
some people
I'm talking about the first one that was made, right? Like the first time they put all of those books together. Like the first Bible that you have accessibility to, right? It was written in a language.
Wasn't it to like the
300 Council of Nicaea?
Yes.
Go ahead.
That's when they start putting the books together. Yeah. Then, you know, by the time they got it in one book, we got to talk about like publishing and like.
Okay, so get to your point, so I can chop this into pieces real quick.
What I'm trying to say is we have a book, right, that was made and written in Hebrew or Latin, and then over the years it was translated into all these different languages and then into English, right? How does that book remain the same through translation? You know, things had to have changed.
Why?
Like important words.
Why?
Because things get lost in translation, you know?
But when you say they get lost in translation, that sounds like a fancy term. What does it actually mean?
Okay, so
because I'll give you, because let me say this, but I need you to understand it from this context, right? Okay. Number one, there are more early transcripts of the Bible than any other book in history.
Okay,
right?
I know that.
More early transcripts, right? So there's more original data to work with than there are for any other books.
Correct.
If we also look at the time frame in which, let's just go with the New Testament, right?
Okay.
In which the New Testament was written, we would say, looking based on the data, the New Testament started to be written roughly 60, 80 years after Jesus. Sound about right? Right? Now, if we put that into context of, like, let's say, the story of Alexander the Great, right? My man. The story of Alexander the Great wasn't written, as we know it today, until 300 years after Alexander the Great, right? So the time frame in which things can change is much shorter a period of time for the New Testament than it is for things that we consider to be history.
Yeah.
So being that there's such a, and there's such an abundance of early documentation, you know, I don't think that necessarily the language, I mean, still today, right? You can go back to find, you know, the Old Testament or the Torah in original Hebrew, right? Yeah. And you can go and you can find New Testament in original Greek, and you can look for yourself and see what's translated. So I don't think that it's changed, right? Because people changed and it was written by man. I don't think to say the translation has changed because someone translated it. Now, there are certain things, right, that you can't grasp necessarily in English, right? But these are why things like commentaries exist. Things like, for an example, like the word love, right? There are many, in the Greek, there are many different types of love that we only use the word love for.
Correct.
Agape, and I forget what the other ones are. But
tiers of love.
Right. But
that's
again,
what I'm talking about.
But that's not lost in translation, because any good commentary, for me, it would be like a Matthew Henry commentary. Yeah. For him, it'd be like a Pope somebody.
Yeah, but most people aren't searching out that.
But again, but that's fine. But that is on them. That does not discredit the book itself. And also, you have to, right? If I believe in a God, right, and I believe in a God of the book, right? Then I also, right, and this is right or wrong, and this is just my, if I believe in that God, then I also have to believe that God is all powerful enough to protect his own book. If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
If I believe in that God.
Yeah. And there's a whole field called hermeneutics. And hermeneutics
great word.
is
a sick word.
Is like looking at like a part of the Bible and looking at what was the original language. What did it mean for the people in that day, as opposed to what it means for us today?
That's what I'm talking about.
So it's all putting it into context.
Okay.
And that's why these people who go and quote the Bible, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
You just can't quote the Bible and think it means what it means to you. You think that that's what they wrote it for.
Yeah.
Sure. It's very easy for people, right? And especially people with ill intentions to pick.
Yeah.
You know, like I was watching, and it's you see it in America. You see it very much in underdeveloped countries like 100%. Africa, where you know, you have these so-called preachers who pick, right, to create their own gain, or to discredit, but it's very easy to pick apart certain pieces to use for your own will.
Yeah.
I always abide by the term, you know, scripture interprets scripture, right? So if I want to look at something, right, and I find something here, and if I want to figure out what that means, I need to go back earlier in the book to see what that means.
Correct.
But it's very easy to pick apart and create your own. You know, that's how cults get created.
100%. Yeah, but I'm talking about like the contradiction of information too, right? So we can bring it back to like the Knights Templar.
What contradiction of?
So why in all holy wars, right? Yeah. Why did we burn all the books of the people that we took over?
Knowledge is power.
Such as, what do you mean? Such as who?
Right? Like the Knights Templar, right? For instance.
The Knights Templar.
The Knights Templar, right?
Yeah.
Every time they took anything, the first thing they did was burn all the books. I don't have off the top of my head an example.
You can't make vague statements.
Okay.
You can't make vague statements.
I don't have a date, but I'm saying that's what they did at that time. Like they would take all the information, they would burn all the books so that you would read their knowledge in their way.
Sure.
You know? So this is something that's so complicated.
I understand, but there's also, and you see this a lot. Every few years, you'll see, you know, the gospel of, you know, George the Barber pops up on YouTube, and suddenly that's the new guy, you know, the gospel of this, and after a little bit of research, you come to find, oh, that was actually written in like 1600.
Yeah.
So that doesn't, you know, the gospel of, you know, Jose, Jesus's hairdresser, suddenly pops up, and you know. So
what you're saying is there's information out there that you can access to pick the Bible apart yourself to figure out kind of what you could put to the side and what you could implement into your life.
No, I don't believe in putting to the side.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying that if you believe in the God of the Bible, you should also believe that the God of the Bible that you believe in is also powerful enough to protect his own book.
Got it. Okay.
If that is what you believe.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's fair.
That's fair.
God's either
fair, yeah.
Mickey Mantle hits a home run in the bottom of the ninth because God said so.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
Who does God have? The Yankees or the Dodgers? That's what we got to know.
I'm hoping God's got the...
Come on, baby.
God. I mean, I don't know. It's like...
Baby.
It's like, who does God have? A hurricane or a tornado? I guess I got to go Dodgers, right? Only because I'm still bitter over 2009. I mean, is that the way we do it?
I don't know. We could... We got to see. It's,
you know,
it's the old rivalry. It's the Brooklyn Dodgers and then the New York Yankees.
That's what I'm saying.
It's an old
Yankees
time.
are taking it this
year.
You know, well, I'll take a piece from the Bronx Tale. You know, maybe the guy up here is
stronger than
you know, Dodgers, but our guy down here is a Yankees guy.
There
so maybe we should ride with the Yankees.
Yeah. What year did the Dodgers leave Brooklyn?
In the 50s.
52.
I'm not sure.
No, 56. I'm trying to think of the introduction to that movie. 1956, year the Dodgers left Brooklyn and Sunset Park ran red with blood. You know what movie I'm talking about?
No.
I'll share it
What
afterwards.
movie? Not a good movie? Okay. All right. You want to take us out of here?
It's not a good recovery movie, you know?
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, let's take us out.
You want to take us out of here?
Yeah.
It's a long one. We had a good time.
Cool. Yeah, we had a really good time. Sorry if we might have went off of your, you know,
regularly scheduled
unpracticed
program, but
religion, but I think that this was good. You know, we talked a lot about recovery. We talked a lot about God, and you guys got an inside look into Father John and, you know, what he's doing on a daily basis and how he helps people.
Yeah, we could call this Dope, Hope, and Pope.
Dope, Hope, and Pope. I love
That's
it. There's your episode name.
Right now.
He's got it.
Write
Dope,
that
Hope,
down
and the
right
Pope.
now.
He's got it.
Yeah.
I
And
just came with a flamer. Dope, Hope, and the Pope.
Yeah.
By the Mindful
he's
Space.
going to post it tonight. Wait till my Mindful Space episode airs next week, and Dope, Hope, and the Pope.
I love it.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I love it.
But as always, you know, thank you to our camera crew for, you know, editing and shooting and doing all this stuff. They work really hard behind the scenes. And you know, they give this to you guys. But like, subscribe, right? Instagram, share Mindful Movement on Facebook. We have a group. You posting it daily. There's people posting all day about you know, their recovery journey and where they're at in it. So if you need help or, you know, you need to level out with somebody, it's the place to be. But again, thank you, John.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Big Stabines.
Big handshake,
My
as
guy.
always. We're out of here.
Call me on that date, bro.
Huh?
Fucking slipped my mind. I still can't think about it, bro.
What date?
I still can't
For the
think about that
Dodgers.
fucking... No, the town that the Knights Templar took over, bro.